the very fact that they've now submitted their legal and accounting documents to the Securities and Exchange Commission marks a significant milestone. It now means that the company, from a tangible perspective, is just one stage closer to its debut listing.
Hello, you're watching Proactive. I'm joined by Glenn King, the Managing Director of Oakmount Partners. Glenn, very good to speak with you. What does completing the legal and accounting preparation actually mean in practice? And how significant a milestone is this in the journey towards a US listing for Intergroup Mining?
Hi, Stephen. Good to see you. Well, essentially, it brings the company from a position whereby it's been sort of tailing the headwinds of looking at becoming a listed company on a notable stock exchange for a good number of years now. And now that we've sort of post-COVID and various other elements that have slowed the market, they've taken great strides and steps to get the company to a position of listing. So the very fact that they've now submitted their legal and accounting documents to the Securities and Exchange Commission marks a significant milestone. It now means that the company, from a tangible perspective, is just one stage closer to its debut listing. As you can imagine, though, once you submit via the EDGAR system with the Securities and Exchange Commission, it's now in a process phase. So there's very little really that Intergroup can do at this stage, but it is open to assessment from the regulators in the US. But ultimately, any questions, queries, or other that are asked, Intergroup Mining will have the chance to go back to the Securities and Exchange, answer those relevant questions, and really push the company towards the final stage, if you will, ready for its listing coming up on the Nasdaq.
What are the key remaining stages in the SEC registration process, Glenn?
Well, there's a whole manner of things that the Securities and Exchange Commission will go through, all of which I'm not completely up to speed with. However, what I would say is that, the one thing when it comes down to listing a company is compliance oversight, ensuring that the company is in good stead, that they've got all of their audited accounts in place. Firstly, that there's full acknowledgement of shares in circulation. So that's capped. I think also, as part of your broader prospectus, it's your business plan, and that Intergroup Mining have got a lot of weight on their shoulders in order to show the Securities and Exchange Commission, and of course that of the Nasdaq, that they're a company that are in good stead to list and uphold, one would hope, a very strong listing, or debut listing rather, and that the company can grow both in scale, revenue and value over the coming months and certainly years ahead.
From Oakmount Partners' perspective, Glenn, as an investor, what strategic benefits would a US public listing bring to Intergroup Mining in terms of capital access, visibility, and valuation?
Well, all of the above, actually, Stephen. I think certainly from being listed on a notable exchange such as the Nasdaq, which carries very deep pools of liquidity, the key thing here is that for existing shareholders and for anybody looking inward and looking at gaining some equity exposure to Intergroup, you're on a notable tier 1 exchange with deep pools of liquidity. You've got significant institutional interest and oversight. And I think, based on the conversations that I've held with the board of late, I think ultimately Intergroup is in a position now where it could ultimately end up as an acquisition target within the next couple of years, 2 to 3 years. There's lots of interest circulating, but I think ultimately with the institutional capital that is very likely to come in over the coming months, that will progress the project no end, because it will take the company through to near-term production, then there are revenue, and of course at revenue they would get to profit, and they can significantly scale the project thereafter. Let's not forget that the life of mine expectancy is expected to be 100 years plus, so it's what we classify as a legacy mine. And of course they're producing kaolin, metakaolin, HPA, which is a derivative of kaolin that goes into aluminium and construction industry. So that fetches significant capital in the market. And most notably, of course, with the good run that gold is having, they produce gold as well, or will be producing gold in the near term, along with their top surface extraction of kaolin, because there's various deposits of the gold that sits top surface and in deeper veins, of course.
Glenn, what sort of timeframes should investors realistically be thinking about for the next major update or inflection point in the listing process?
Well, I think Intergroup will naturally update the market as and when they see fit, and it's based on milestones, one would imagine. So I think anything that the Securities and Exchange Commission come back with that Intergroup need to answer, and they've made further headway in the listing process, I'm confident that Intergroup will notify the shareholders in order to keep them abreast of forward momentum and activity. But from this stage, now that we're going into the festive period, we're probably likely to get an update maybe towards the end of January or in early February, as that gives the Securities and Exchange Commission ample time to come back with any queries. Of course, Intergroup can answer that, but it's a very, very exciting stage of the IPO process now, because we're really narrowing down to the listing window, which is significant.
Well, sounds like it, Glenn. I hope you'll keep us updated with the progress. Thank you very much for speaking with us today.
Look forward to speaking in the new year. Thanks, Stephen.
That's Glenn King, Managing Director of Oakmount Partners.